Yo, what is going on, guys? SMH Super Mario Hoops back with some more hoops, and today we are hopping right back into the top 50 list in NBA history. Now today we got Shaquille O'Neal, the man of many nicknames, one of them most famously known as Diesel. Let's just get into where we have Shaquille O'Neal ranked all time, and where I got him is 7th. And before we hop into Shaq, gonna need you guys to hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know what you think of Shaq, if I rate him too high or too low or just right. Without further ado, let's get into Mr. O'Neal. Now, he was a 15-time NBA All-Star in his career, and this was actually every year from 1993 until 2009, except for 1999 and 2008. But of course, 1999, as we know, with the lockout, they didn't have an All-Star game. He was an 8-time member of All-NBA First Team in 1998, along with 2000 until 2006. He was an All-NBA Second Team member in 1995 and 1999, and he was a 4-time member of All-NBA Third Team in 1994, 1996, 1997, and 2009. In fact, he even came away with an MVP award in the year 2000, and he was a 3-time member of All-Defensive Second Team in 2000, 2001, and 2003. He was also a 2-time scoring champion, which I think a lot of people don't realize, in 1995 and 2000. And along with this, he's a 4-time NBA champion in 2000 to 2002, and then also 2006, which the first 3 he was the finals MVP for. Now, in terms of MVP shares, he has received votes on 14 different seasons, 6 of which he was a top 5 finisher. He was a 2-time runner-up in 1995 and 2005, and he was a 1-time winner in 2000. Now, in 1995, he was the runner-up to David Robinson, and he was pretty deserving of that. However, Shaq himself believes the 2005 runner-up season where he was more deserving of the real winner in Steve Nash. And while the voting was close, it really doesn't make much sense. I mean, Nash led the league in assists per game, he led the best offense, was far more efficient, on a better record, and Shaq's biggest edge was his rebounding and scoring, which given Nash's role and position, I mean, that's kind of given. But as we move into some all-time stat rankings, 28,596 points puts him 8th all-time, 13,099 rebounds puts him 15th all-time, 2,732 blocks puts him 8th all-time, a 26.4 PER puts him 4th in NBA history, 181.7 win shares puts him 12th all-time, 115.4 offensive win shares puts him 14th all-time, 66.4 defensive win shares puts him 19th all-time, a .208 win share per 48 rating puts him 19th all-time, a 5.1 BPM puts him 21st in NBA history, a 4.4 offensive box plus minus puts him 17th in NBA history, and a 75.5 VORP is 15th all-time. Now let's move on to Shaq's playoff career. And in the playoffs, Shaq simply does get better. A better scorer, better rebounder, higher BPM, and even had 4 seasons where he had a plus 20 on-off rating, which is pretty crazy, especially since we're in the playoffs. He put up 20 points per game in 34 of 45 playoff series, 23 series of 25 points per game, 9 series above 30 points per game, and even 2 series above 35 points per game. He averaged 10 rebounds per game in 31 of 45 playoff series, and he had 8 playoff series where he averaged about 15 rebounds per game. And to top it off, he shot above 50% from the field in 38 of 45 playoff series, and 60% from the field in 12 different series. Now, Shaq's Orlando playoff days aren't entirely successful, despite being one of the best teams for several years at that time. However, one of his crowning achievements was that he did make the finals in 1995, and he's the only Hall of Famer that can say he defeated MJ's Bulls between the 2 three-peats. However, after winning in 6 in 1995, the Magic got swept for the 3rd straight year and embarrassed. And then after Orlando gave Shaq offers he felt disrespected by, he took his talents to LA. However, when Shaq joined the Lakers, by no means were they a super team. I mean, they came off an offseason where they lost Vlade Divac, Sadell Threat, Anthony Peeler, and a still semi-solid Magic Johnson, and even traded Cedric Ceballos in the middle of the 96-97 season. They added a lot of new faces and had a new identity with Shaq, Van Exel, Eddie Jones, and a rookie Kobe Bryant. In their first year, despite Shaq being the best player in the series, they did lose to Utah. At least this time, though, instead of a sweep, it was a 4-1 loss. However, that wasn't the case in 1998 and 1999, as the Lakers got swept again and Shaq was actually outplayed by Karl Malone and Tim Duncan in both elimination. However, the next 3 years would be the best 3 years of Shaq's NBA career, as he was the MVP in 2000, 2000, along with three-peating in championships over the stretch. In the 2000 run, Shaq averaged 31 points per game, 15.5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.5 blocks on 56.6% from the field. He led the playoffs in points per game and rebounds per game in 2000, and in rebounds per game in 2001, en route to going 15-1 in the playoffs as well, which was the best in NBA history at the time in terms of win percentage. But the best thing about these runs for Shaq is that he was amazing in the finals. I mean, the 2000 NBA finals, he averaged 38 points per game, just under 17 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game, almost 3 blocks per game, 1 steal per game on 61% from the field. In the 2001 finals, he put up 33 points per game, 15.8 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game, 3.4 blocks per game on 57% from the field. And in the 2002 finals, he was averaging 36 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, 4 assists per game, 3 blocks per game on 59.5% from the field. And over these 3 finals, he had an average game score of 29.4. I know a lot of people would try to point at the idea that the Pacers or AI 76ers or the Nets don't serve as much competition. But the NBA Finals at the end of the day is the biggest stage, and all those teams were still great in the regular season as well. Plus, he still had some great interconference opponents that he dominated as well during these runs, such as the Suns led by Jason Kidd and Penny Hardaway, the Kings with Weber, Stojakovic, Turkoglu, and Vlade Divac, and even the Kings series the next year when they added Mike Bibby. And yes, that one was a very controversial series, but you can't really blame Shaq for that, as he was still providing some nice rim protection in that series too. But over these 3 NBA Finals, Shaq proved himself to be arguably the GOAT Finals performer. I mean, who else is up there? You got Jordan, maybe Jerry West, and then I'd probably say Shaq is in that class too. I mean, he essentially did in those Lakers days what Giannis is doing this year, except at an even more extreme and dominant level and on 4 different occasions, not just 3. You see, in the 2004 finals, although they did lose the series, Shaq was the only reliable option on offense. 26.5 points per game, 11 rebounds per game, and 63% from the field. And here's a crazy stat about the series as well. Although it might be an ESPN level stat, it still is pretty remarkable. But this is the only series in NBA Finals history where the leading scorer for the series was the only one that shot above 40% from the field among the top 9 rotation players. And again, Shaq was at 63% from the field. No one in that class even eclipsed 50% true shooting, while Shaq did 60. So it's hard to put any blame on him when he got no help from guys like Gary Payton, Karl Malone, or even Kobe Bryant. And I get that they played the Detroit Pistons and their amazing defense, except the fact that Shaq had probably the best defender from Detroit guarding him in this series in Big Ben Wallace. So that's not really a viable excuse as to why the others couldn't support much. After the series, Shaq and LA went their own ways and sent him to Miami. I know a lot of people like to think he was washed because he wasn't great in the 2006 finals, when in 2005, like I said, he was the MVP runner-up. And in the 2006 conference playoffs, I mean, he was putting up 20 and 10 and shot roughly 62% from the field over that stretch as well. When the finals rolled around, he deferred more to D-Wade, and you can't blame him because it was a recipe for success. Following the title, though, Shaq would lose 4 of his 5 next playoff series after this, so he never really contended again. However, he was still an all-star and all-NBA player in 2009 with the Suns at 36 years old, and not enough people talk about that. And he really wasn't that bad in Cleveland. Sure, he wasn't the 30 and 15 Shaq from a decade prior, but he was still good for about 12 and 7 plus. He even played well down the stretch of the second round games to Boston in 2010, before he ultimately joined him in 2011 and missed all but the last 2 games to their playoff run because he had an Achilles injury. But when we talk about Shaq, I would say he's properly rated. Much like Wilt, he gets that top 10 player respect that I think they both deserve. I also do think Shaq's the most dominant player in NBA history. Even though in his peak, he was a pretty good defender as well. I mean, nobody really put him in a class like Bill Russell or Hakeem or Mutombo on that end. But even though that isn't really the case, he was just too unstoppable on the offensive end that if you were matched up with him for the night, I mean, you were praying in the pregame. And I know that I said he's properly rated by NBA fans, but maybe you could even argue his defense is a little underrated. The only other player you can compare his dominance to is probably Wilt Chamberlain, who of course was more athletic and a quicker player than Shaq, but I think Shaq was definitely stronger and definitely owned the paint a little bit better, with all due respect to Wilt. I mean, Wilt had defensive dominance, but Shaq was just immovable, unless you had like a forklift or maybe like 50. And much like a younger Wilt, a younger Shaq had ball handling capabilities and the quickness to even compete with some of the best point guards. He's arguably the strongest player ever, and like I said, he owns the paint better than any big man ever in NBA history. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the Shaq diss. Did I overrate him? Did I underrate him? Or is he just right? But I think I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.